Carl Pohlad, president of Bank Shares Incorporated and chairman of MEI Diversified, got his first exposure to finance when he was hired to milk cows on a farm owned by a local banker. Carl was enlisted to drive his employer on rounds to collect loan payments. Soon he was making the collection rounds himself and doing odd jobs at the banker's office. Mr. Pohlad graduated from Gonzaga University in Spokane, which he attended on a football scholarship. After serving in the Army during World War II, Mr. Pohlad moved to Minneapolis, where he and a partner purchased the Minneapolis-based holding company Bank Shares Incorporated. During the late 1960s, Mr. Pohlad invested in the financially troubled Twin Cities Rapid Transit Company, renaming it Minnesota Enterprises Incorporated. In 1972, he engineered a three-way merger which brought Minnesota Enterprises together with two other companies that own Pepsi-Cola bottling plants in Kansas and Oklahoma. In 1980, MEI branched out into the snack and health food business. By 1984, MEI was ranked 402 on the list of Fortune 500 companies. And in 1986, MEI Corporation merged its beverage companies into a subsidiary of PepsiCo. Mr. Pohlad is currently the owner of the Minnesota Twins baseball team and part owner of the Minnesota Vikings. As owner of the Twins, he is highly active in Little League programs. He's an active community leader all the way around, and I can assure you he is a popular one. Mr. Pohlad was a founding board member of the City Boys Club and Girls Clubs. He is the Finance Committee chairman of the Methodist Hospital. He is also active in the Minnesota Medical Foundation, the Guthrie Theater, the Minneapolis Downtown Council, and the United Way. For his dynamic leadership in helping others to attain their goals, and for providing a remarkable example of achievement, the Horatio Alger Association is proud tonight to honor Mr. Carl Pohlad. And Meshulam Riklas of the class of 1969 will present the award to Carl Pohlad.
That's the first drop of the evening. Well, thank you. I wouldn't know anybody. I'd rather have dinner. Well, thank you, directors and everyone, for this great honor. Before I get started with my remarks, I'd like to tell you a little bit about a certain gentleman that you all know. You know, you speak of opportunity. Some 25 or 30 years ago, a gentleman walked into my bank. He was young, he had lots of hair, and really a good-looking guy. And he said, a friend of mine had sent him over. And he said, I'd like to borrow $10,000. I said, well, do you have any collateral? Where do you work, or what do you do? So he proceeded to tell me a story of high finance. He was going to buy a company, some stock in a company. He had a great, grandiose plan. I thought it sounded to me like a lot of baloney, and I said, mentally, how can I ever loan this guy $10,000? So anyway, he talked for another 30 or 40 minutes, and I decided that, well, I had a hunch that he was going to be successful. That gentleman was Mr. Riklas that you saw up here, giving me this nice ribbon. And one of the great satisfactions of my life, for whatever small part that $10,000 was, Rick, I certainly have seen it grow and grow and grow, and I'm happy for you. And I think that little story will tell you what great opportunity there is in this country. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my experience in business. Frankly, I don't believe I've ever worked for anyone in my life, and I learned a good lesson on profit margins in the first business venture I went into. I was a locker boy at a local country club, and this was in the days of Prohibition. Most of you people are too young to remember that, but I remember it. And the big thing then was near beer and alcohol. By the way, I used to serve Ronald Reagan at the place called the Moonlight Inn in Des Moines when he was a radio announcer on WHO. Well, anyway, back in those days, the bootleg alcohol came in gallon tins, and my job was to pour it out of these gallon tins into 8-ounce bottles, and then go sell it to the members and collect the money and turn it back to the bootlegger. Well, anyway, one night I heard that the bootlegger, I didn't hear, the bootlegger got shot, dead. Now that's adversity. When I speak of adversity, it's adversity, but it also is opportunity. Because he had just bought a supply of 50 of those tins in. So what do I do with them? So I got thinking about it, and his wife lived a short distance from us, so I couldn't very well just sell the alcohol and pocket the money. That would certainly be dishonest. So I go to the wife and I say to her, look, we got this 50 gallons of alcohol. I will sell it. You give me half, and I'll give you half. She said, that's great. She didn't even know that she had it coming, and she needed money. So I got thinking. So when I filled up these bottles, I filled them up half with water and half with alcohol, which I'd never done before. Now, what does that translate into? 100% profit. I made $2,800 that summer, deposited in the local bank. 3 months later, the bank went broke. That was a good lesson in ill-gotten gains. So whenever I speak of adversity and dealing with it, sometimes adversity is other people's opportunity. But I can truthfully say I don't know why I'm here. I have to pinch myself because I can't believe that I'm up here on this podium receiving what I consider the greatest award in this country today. And I have butterflies in my stomach. I don't really have a prepared speech. I just have to tell you how I feel. I feel so great about it. I can't believe about it. My mother, 94 years old, is sitting back there on one of the back tables. We lived about 30 feet from the railroad track in our town, a small railroad town, and my mother used to take in washings and clean houses for us kids, and along the way, as we grew up, we also helped her with the laundry. And I want to tell you, she taught me to iron a mean shirt, and I got pretty good at it. So in case things go to hell, I can always go back to the laundry business. But as I said before, this is the most significant and proud moment of my life. As some of you may or may not know, I am involved in baseball. I'm the owner of the Minnesota Twins. And before I get off this podium, I'd like to ask, is there anybody out there that can pitch or hit? If there is, I'll talk to your agent in the morning. Because believe me, owning a baseball team, if you don't have pitchers, there's no picnic. You know, once in a while when I talk to students, in jest, I say, well, I don't think you ought to send your kids to school. I think you should send them to baseball school. Teach them to be left-handed pitchers. Because in case you haven't read the paper, what left-handed pitchers are making today, our star pitcher, of course, is Frank Viola, the Cy Young Award winner last year. And for a little $3 million for 3 years, why, he agreed to sign up. I should say $8 million for 3 years, spread out over 3 years. That's not bad, is it? When you think of $8 million riding on this fragile one arm, what if he catches his finger in the door of the car? He's a great fisherman. What if he catches a hook in his finger? All those things went through my mind when we signed it. Well, anyway, get back to some of the notes I've written. Once in a while I wander around, so pay no attention to that. But anyway, it certainly isn't difficult for me to tell you what the Horatio Alger Association means to the nation's youth who have benefited from the America's Future program. As a founder and active participant in the Boys Clubs of America, I see the American dream in their eyes. And what pleases me the most is that they too, no matter what their means, can achieve the fulfillment of their dreams. It means that no matter who you are, as you all know in this country, you can make it if you have the dedication, and as one of my friends, Mr. Taylor, said today, you have to have that dedication, and along with that, you have to have the guts to make it happen. You have to recognize opportunity out there, and you have to do something about it. I'd just like to close this by thanking my family who are all with me tonight. I have many of my friends who travel long distance to be here to support me. They've been a great support all my life, and I can't tell you how pleased I am representing them and you to be up here tonight. So thank you for making it possible for me.